All right, we are recording. So, time to talk about chapter 5 for. Nope, that way. That one. And I was like, no. Also, I actually have the book near me this time, so leaving it over there. Um, I'm just trying to think how to put it. My prediction was accurate as far as we do get more of the history in this chapter, which makes sense for the exact reasons I gave yesterday, that this would be the one where Luke talks to Ben, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan has to pass on some of the information, some of the knowledge to him. And I'm definitely happy with that. It was interesting, some of it. I think I will just skip to the end for a moment, though, because it was really only the one thing. The end of the chapter does take you to Leia being interrogated in her cell, which in the movies is rather different, but it makes sense because it's a movie meant to be PG, even. That in the movie, the droid floats in and you get the close-up on a needle, so it's kind of implied she's just given some sort of serum, truth serum kind of thing. Yeah, no, not in the book. It's basically stated, oh yeah, that droid is programmed for torture, and that's what it's doing. Lovely. Easier to get away with in a book. But yeah, so coming back to the beginning portion, which is first the whole Obi-Wan has rescued them, and so is collecting everyone collecting everyone together, so getting like Luke back on his feet, they get 3PO, all that, and then going to his cave instead of his home, because might only be in the special editions, but they do show like an actual structure for him, but no, in this it's described as a cave. There's another reference to R2 tricking Luke, which I just find it interesting because it's not as clear in the movies, at least in my opinion, it's not as clear. Whereas this is nope, we're just telling you, just get it in there. R2 tricked him. Yeah, so just see, got some stuff I can talk about with Kenobi. I just want to see if there's anything I want to cover first before that, because I might be able to rant on him, so that's why I kind of want to. Okay, so one thing, still no real instant decisions from Luke, because I am watching for those, unless you want to count his refusal of the quest. But let's be real, he was always going to refuse it. I mean, it's like that's Hero's Journey 101. In fact, it might not even be 101, it might just be 100. It is that basic. And it is also not unreasonable. He even points out, I don't even know what Alderaan is. Why would I go there? So, yeah, I mean, it is kind of instant, but that's a very normal reaction, especially when you consider he's 20. Although I will grant, at times it does seem like his behavior is even more childlike than I think I behaved at 20. That's also been a while, but still, this is not surprising and not an not indicative to me of an instant decision kind of personality or character flaw, if you want to put it that way either. Either way. Yeah, so I'm going to keep harping on that one because it's just like this isn't true for the character. Anyhow, nothing that was kind of neat. It does actually state the Force has never been explained. It's never been properly explained. That scientists have some theories, but we still don't know. And it's like, kind of makes you wish we had just stayed with that, doesn't it? It's like it's not really necessary. I'm looking. Well, here. While it has never been properly explained, scientists have theorized it is an energy field generated by living beings. Whereas in the movie, I want to say he gives a much more. Okay. It gives the explanation himself as though this is the explanation as opposed to this is what other people have said. So, but I mean, yeah, don't you kind of wish that they stayed with that instead of doing what they did in the prequels? And at this point, I think. Yeah, I can talk about that next, and then I'll come to talking about Kenobi. The lightsaber. First of all, the physical description of it is different than what you see in the movies. I think there's at least one portrait done that is more accurate, where it's like it describes the disc of the lightsaber, so where the beam comes out of, as being the size of the palm of his hand, which not true. I've got large hands, but it still that's pretty big. but that the beam itself is only the size of his thumb. Well, the width of his thumb. So, yeah. But it does also state one other thing that is curious, but not for storytelling reasons. It's curious for other reasons. In that it says that there's no heat coming off from it. Which I could see that in universe, it's like, well, no, if you're cutting something, that may produce the heat that you will feel, but that the blade itself does not emanate heat. And I find this interesting because that is, either we will see that retconned at some point, either in this trilogy or in the prequel trilogy, I guess, or everybody, when it's like, oh, well, what are the advantages and disadvantages to a lightsaber? Well, one disadvantage is it'll burn your hand. It's like, well, except it is stated when it's introduced in here that no, that there's no heat. I mean, I guess the exception would be, if it is cutting something and generating heat. So in the prequel trilogy, with Qui-Gon stabbing the door and it melting, that should really be burning his hand. I can't get around that one. Not easily, anyhow. I mean, I guess, who knows what the Force can do? Maybe he's doing something there. But it's, like just the more comparing a lightsaber to other things, is like, no, heat is not a just normal part of the blade. It, at most, is when it interacts with something. When it's cutting something. Okay, so now I want to talk about Kenobi. I really like this character. He's so much more fun in the book. And don't get me wrong, Alec Guinness is great. He was wonderful as Obi-Wan. Just perfect. But this is a slightly different character, or rather, I'm trying to think of how best to put it. The Alec Guinness Obi-Wan is... he's more tired, I guess, is a way to put it. No, that's a terrible way to put it. He's not as funny. This dude's funny. I was like, no, seriously, this dude is having lots of fun. It is fun. He is, like, the way I put in my notes, is he's like an old man who enjoys his seniority over youths. So he'll just, and his experience was like, he knows more than you, he understands more than you, and he'll just mention things or say things that's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, and this is why I should look through here. So this is just after he was talking about knowing Luke's father, who has not yet been named, and I do want to talk about that a little bit, but it relates to this, so we'll move. I'll get to that a little later. For a brief second, Kenobi actually appeared old. He was also a good friend, so that's how that paragraph finished. But then we get, suddenly the boyish twinkle returned to those piercing eyes along with the old man's natural humor. Alec Guinness definitely had natural humor. Not so much for Obi-Wan, I'm just going to point that out. But seriously, look up his career. He did a lot of very funny comedies. Anyway, I understand you're quite a pilot yourself. Piloting and navigation aren't hereditary, but a number of the things that can combine in it to make a good small ship pilot are those you may have inherited. Still, even a duck has to be taught to swim. What's a duck? Luke asks curiously. I was like, that's what I mean by that seniority. Obi-Wan knows what a duck is. Maybe it occurs to him, maybe it doesn't, that Luke would have no idea what a duck is because there wouldn't be any on Tatooine, but it's like he'll just throw it out there and just having some fun. Yeah, I much like that better. I much more like that than what we get in the movies. And I guess a way to put it is his character is a bit more fleshed out. There is more of a character here. And also, he's way more knowledgeable and experienced with other things. So, I mean, we do get in the movie, but it's kind of unclear exactly how it is he scares off the Raiders. Here it is stated he apparently knows how to do a Krayt Dragon call, and he actually makes a joke there as well. Let me see if I can find it. Earlier than this. Not that early. Okay. How did you do that? Luke is asking. I'll show you sometime. It's not too hard. It just takes the right attitude, a set of well-used vocal cords, and a lot of wind. Now, if you were an Imperial bureaucrat, I could teach you right off, but you're not. I mean, he's just throwing this stuff out, just mocking everyone. It's great. But yeah, so he has that knowledge, he has that experience, has that skill. Whereas in the movies, it's less clear. It's like, just there's this noise. It almost sounds like it's just an alarm going off than a call. And it's also, we see him there, just flapping and like, oh, I'm here. not nearly as impressive as this is. And also, he does another call before they leave to make sure that the raiders are staying away. But also, it mentions that when they're leaving, he's the one who tells them what to do to so hide their tracks and so confuse their tracks that, what did it say? Like not even a hypernasal Jabba would be able to find them? Would be able to follow them? Something like that. But yeah, it's like, yeah, not even a hypernasal Jabba could have followed it. I mean, this is somebody much more experienced than we see in the movies. I mean, true, he's referred to as a general, as a Jedi Knight. In the movies, great. The movies are right there, so that's why I'm kind of gesturing in this direction. But it's like, this is so much more impressive. I mean, it's, yeah. So it is certainly among those things where you would have to not include it in the movie because it would be adding time that you don't necessarily have. It would lengthen it. And he's a supporting character. He's not a main character. I'm sorry. But that is kind of the truth. I mean, he's Merlin in King Arthur's court. Merlin is interesting. Merlin is cool, but it's King Arthur you care about, as well as Lancelot. It's like, in many ways, a lot of those stories are about those two, as well as some of the others, like Gawain, Galahad, Garrus, plenty of others. Tristan as well. I mean, it's about them. It's not about Merlin. He's just helpful. Same thing with the Lady of the Lake, although technically there's like more than one in that book. Anyway, and so I'm looking back at this. Oh yeah, one other thing. So about about Anakin, Luke's father, who, as I said, Anakin has not yet been given as the name. At least I don't recall him being named yet, but just Luke's father, we know is Anakin. Couple things about his description that I find curious. One is just Obi-Wan is clearly describing that he was a farmer as well. So more like Beru potentially is actually Luke's biological aunt, as opposed to this, Anakin and Owen being stepbrothers. Which is what we see in Attack of the... Yes, that's in Attack of the Clones. So, yeah, it does seem like there is a stronger connection there, because Owen and Anakin, it describes as basically they grew up together, they were working together, but while Owen will be the dedicated, nope, my position is a farmer, that's what I'm doing, I'm not going out, I'm not doing these other adventures, while Anakin is the more, playing with the head here, is more the looking out there, trying to see what else there is, and goes off to achieve that, goes off to be a hero. So it is interesting that aspect of it, that obviously does get changed, and it kind of makes some sense why, because of certain concepts of destiny in there. But what I find interesting, because it's a trope in other things as well, well, obviously because it's a trope, but it's used in various other stories. I'm trying to think of more of them, but I know of at least one anime and manga that is like this, where the first fails and turns evil even. So Anakin being that first who turns evil, because we know, I mean, it's not that revealed, that's Empire Strikes Back, but that Anakin is Vader is Anakin. But that whole thing with, it's like, and then it's the second time, the second attempt, that's when it turns out similar, but now the person, the new hero remains good, doesn't turn evil, and it's like, why is this a thing? It actually seems kind of curious that, but then also going back to Arthurian legend, there we go, I was trying to think of those words. Garrus, pretty sure that's it. One of the siblings to Gawain is in many ways like that, is a better knight than Gawain is. Not necessarily greater, but more moral. Like Gawain is actually involved in murder. Yeah. But he is still so powerful and so trusted by Arthur that Arthur kind of keeps him around anyway. But also Galahad and Lancelot are exactly that. Lancelot is described as the greatest knight of all time, right? At least the greatest knight in the world doing that. But he's also a sinful man, and that causes problems multiple times. Galahad, his son, is pure, no sin, and it is described as the only knight greater than Lancelot. So you even see it there. So it's a very old idea, very old concept. And I just find it interesting how we have that. But, we don't have Galahad and Lancelot quite following in the same paths. Like, this is setting up that Luke also is going to go off on an adventure, just like his father did, both coming out of farms and all that. So, yeah, it is interesting. I do just kind of wonder where that trope originates from and also why it works. I mean, I don't have any issue. I'm not criticizing it in like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. It's no, I'm happy it's being done. It's just, why does this connect? I mean, it's kind of like the hero's journey. Why does that? Well, no, the hero's journey makes some sense because it's the whole, somebody achieving success, having to fight through these ordeals, and just that kind of desire to see success, to achieve your own success, and to see success. Hero's journey makes sense for that. It's very formulaic and translates to everything, to everyone. I mean, every culture. But the first failing, the second succeeding is curious, especially when you also have it where they might not always be connected. I mean, like, Luke barely knows his dad, and yet it's going to be going off on so much of this that's very similar. So, anyhow. The other thing, and let me see if I can actually find it here. It should only be like a page or two off. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, I forgot I went back further. I also do have it in my notes. It's just okay. So he's talking about, Kenobi's now talking about Vader and how, yes, there's a connection, there's a relationship. Vader used the training I gave him and the force within him for evil to help the later corrupt emperors. Let's see if I can... Yeah, you see that? That has an S. The ambitious Senator Palpatine caused himself to be elected President of the Republic. He promised to reunite the disaffected among the people and to restore the remembered glory of the Republic. Once secure in office, he declared himself Emperor. Emperors. There is nothing in here explaining that. There is nothing I haven't seen so far that would explain there being multiple emperors. None. So, either Vader, which would mean also Obi-Wan, which would mean also Luke's dad, and therefore Owen, would have to be old enough to predate the Republic. The Old Republic, because obviously the Old Republic ended when it became the Galactic Empire, which it had before that may have been, but it's also like talking about the Jedi. They served as guardians and guarantors of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Was it here? Was it somewhere else? Yeah, for over 1,000 generations. Man, these people are old. I'm sorry, but that is a glaring and problematic inconsistency because, like, you can't explain this one away unless you're going to say that, oh, no, Palpatine has already been deposed and, like, this is somebody else. It's like, but, I mean, that's not been referenced at all. This is literally the first time there's anything close to suggesting that there's ever been change in power. I'm even going back to the prologue here. Yeah, having... okay. And I have to... once secure in office, he declared himself emperor, shutting himself away from the populace. Soon he was controlled by the very assistants and bootlickers he had appointed to high office, and the cries of the people for justice did not reach his ears. This whole description is also very inconsistent with what we then have. Well, what chapter did I even mention? The one with the boardroom kind of scene, where Vader chokes out the dude, and it's like they're referring to the Emperor actually like being okay with some of the stuff, and also saying that he sent Vader. The prologue describes him as being ineffectual, isolated, so that the governors, having exterminated through treachery and deception the Jedi Knights, guardians of justice in the galaxy, the imperial governors and bureaucrats prepared to institute a reign of terror among the disheartened worlds of the galaxy. I'm saying, this is very inconsistent for how the Emperor is portrayed here. Is he isolated? And being effectively controlled by those he put in power? is he knowing enough and powerful enough that he can say, Vader, you go here, and no one can deny that, such that Tarkin will tolerate him, because Tarkin, I think, either does respect that he is underneath the Emperor, but is still satisfied with what power he can achieve, or is trying to become something to challenge the Emperor himself. It's like, whichever, it's still you're going to tolerate Vader there. Tarkin has no reason to fight Vader, but the dude he chokes out does. To now, oh no, there were multiple Emperors that Vader helped. It just is... This is frustrating for me because I know that there are some things, I don't remember what it was I talked about in the last video, where I even said, yeah, I'm probably guilty of some of these mistakes, some inconsistencies as well. Like, I'm just looking up at the notes there, like, I don't think I would make the mistake of the instant decision description for Luke. Like, on an editing pass, where I would like, no, that's actually not accurate, I would remove it. No, I think that actually was what I was talking about, where I may have something set up and then never pay it off. If I catch that, I remove it. And I don't, especially when it is straight out written in here, I think I would catch that. But this, it's like, this is a pretty big inconsistency. What are you doing here? Oh, boy. Well, it'll make it interesting to see. Well, here, let me actually... Well, no, that's not really fair. I was going to look later. I have no idea where... Okay, no, no, I got an idea. Oh, this is a lot longer than I thought. I am wondering if there is a reference later to being Emperor Palpatine, but I can't look into Empire Strikes Back because then that's after the movie. Okay, this is the award ceremony. It looks like it's all that, which makes sense. Maybe I should pause the recording for a moment as I look. Okay, it also might... I'm not sure if he will be named either. No, I doubt it here at least. Okay. I was hoping to maybe catch something with... Okay, no. I was hoping that maybe there would be a reference when Vader is shot such that he then goes flying off at the end. Some reference to him, like, going to the Emperor and then potentially naming him. So, yeah, I have no idea where else I might be able to find it. I may encounter it later anyway. He might be named, but it is just, this is not... This is a problem. It is a very glaring inconsistency within the single book. Yeah, so... That's about all I got for this one. Let me see, I'm trying to remember what should be next. It should be Luke getting back to the homestead, Lars' homestead, finding it destroyed, and then having to go with Obi-Wan into Mos Eisley to leave the planet and to go to Alderaan. That's where it would have to be. I do wonder a little bit, because obviously... Oh, wait, no. Yeah, because he does say that he'll take Obi-Wan as far as Anchorhead. And it's actually kind of funny. It also mentions in there that Obi-Wan is reflecting, like, yeah, this is your destiny. It's just reflecting how, yeah, this is absolutely your destiny. He doesn't necessarily believe in things being precisely foretold, but it's like, yeah, dude, you can say you're not coming with me to Alderaan. You're coming with me to Alderaan. It's going to happen. And it's again, that whole kind of knowledge and experience from seniority, from being senior, from being older, from being more knowledgeable and such. I said older and then continue. It's like, no, I should have stopped there. All right, I've been talking long enough. So, yeah, we'll see you next time. And that, it will be interesting, because that will be an opportunity to see... That will be the first main opportunity to see Luke with his current character challenged. And by that I mean that there can be moments in a story when a character faces something and now basically has a choice of which way do you want to turn? Do you want to accept that, as we know from the movies, he accepts that he no longer has anything here. He might as well, he should go. This is something he can do and be helpful with. Or he could choose, this is my home. It has been destroyed. I gotta pick up the pieces and try. Maybe just, like, they want the droids, give up the droids. I mean, which are not necessarily unreasonable. But obviously we do know what he does. But it's like, it will be the first moment to see him challenged such that he needs to make such a decision. Because also it's like the whole, yes, he's restless, but he's not trying to escape the situation. He's like throwing his arms out, but it's almost like he's never really truly reaching for something. It's like, if he's not grabbing what he's throwing his arms out to, it's because he's actually not throwing his arms out far enough. He could, but he's not. That's currently where Luke is as a character, which is fine. Great place for a character to be, because then you give them the reason, like what is coming, to reach out and grab, but also it's something a lot of people also experience in real life. So it's a very good place for a character to be, because everybody understands it. We've all experienced it ourselves or know somebody who has. Anyway, this next chapter should be interesting. Probably won't be as history. I like the history in stories, how that builds his world. I like that. Next chapter probably won't be so much that, but it's going to get going. So, I guess one last thing, just reading through the book is actually making me want to watch the movie, but I won't do that until I finish, not the whole book, just, not the whole trilogy here, but just A New Hope. I'll probably watch it after I finish it. All right. See you next time.